In the final moments of my past life, as the hospital's sterile hum faded, I lay on a threadbare cot, my body frail from years of sacrifice. Ryan Carter. My husband was absent, likely at Emily's side, soothing her latest tantrum. My daughter, born through the agony of a hemorrhaged birth, stood by my bed, her eyes cold. Finally, that ugly hag is dead, she sneered, smiling at Emily. You're my real mom. The betrayal cut deeper than the pain in my chest. I had slaved for them, patching shoes, starving, while they ate my rations, serving Ryan's parents like a maid only to be discarded. As my vision blurred, a single regret seared my soul. I wished I had lived for myself, not as a shadow in their twisted love story. A strange warmth enveloped me, like a pulse from the universe answering my plea. My heart stilled, but a jolt of light surged through me instead of darkness. I awoke with a gasp, my hands trembling, clutching a crisp marriage application. The date read 1978, and I was 20 again, my reflection in a cracked mirror showing a face unmarred by decades of toil. My braid tied with a red ribbon bounced as I moved, and my simple cotton dress felt vibrant, not yet faded by years of washing. I was in my family's modest home, the air thick with the scent of steamed buns my mother had made. The document before me bore Ryan Carter's name, the man whose promises of a bright future had once dazzled me. But now, armed with memories of betrayal, I saw him for what he was, a hypocrite who loved his sister-in-law Emily and used me as a prop to hide their shame. My heart pounded not with fear but with clarity. This was no dream, a second chance, a gift born of my dying wish. I didn't know how or why the heavens had granted it, only that every ache of my past life screamed for justice. Ryan's disdain, Emily's crocodile tears, the Carter family's greed, they would not chain me again. I stood the floorboards, creaking under my weight, and stared at the application. Its black ink seemed to mock me, promising a life of servitude. My mother's voice called from the kitchen. Lucy, are you ready for the registry office? Her tone was hopeful, and she was unaware of what would happen if I followed through. I closed my eyes, picturing the moments that had broken me, Ryan flinging insults at my tacky polka dot dress, Emily eating my pork while I starved my daughter's venomous words. Each memory was a spark igniting a resolve I'd never known in my youth. I would not marry Ryan. I would not cover for his and Emily's sick love. Instead, I would expose their hypocrisy and forge my path where I held the reins. My fingers tightened around the paper, and I tore it in half with a slow, deliberate motion. The sound of ripping paper was sharp, like a blade cutting through my past. I pulled it repeatedly until the fragments scattered across the wooden table like fallen leaves. Lucy, my mother appeared, her apron dusted with flour, her eyes wide. What are you doing? I met her gaze, my voice steady despite the storm in my chest. I'm not marrying Ryan, Mama. He's not who you think. Her lips parted, but I pressed on, softening my tone. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. Confusion clouded her face, but she nodded, her love for me outweighing her questions. I hugged her, the warmth of her embrace grounding me. She didn't know I'd lived this life before, but her faith was enough. That evening I sat by my window, the alley outside, buzzing with neighbors' chatter. The textile factory's whistle echoed a reminder of the stable job I'd soon leave behind. Ryan expected me at the registry office tomorrow, his gold-rimmed glasses and smug grin waiting to seal my fate. But I had other plans. I'd let him and Emily entangle themselves, their flirtations already blatant to anyone who cared to look. I'd step aside, giving them the rope to hang their reputations. And I'd answer the country's call to build Shenzhen a city of opportunity my past life's newsreels had promised. As moonlight spilled through the window, I whispered a vow to myself. This time, Lucy Shu, you live for you. The weight of my past life lifted, replaced by a fire to reclaim my worth. Tomorrow, I'd face Ryan, not as the timid girl he knew, but as a woman reborn, ready to shatter his illusions and build a future mine alone. The fragments of the torn marriage application lay scattered on the table, glinting in the dim light of my family's modest home. My mother's footsteps faded toward the kitchen, leaving me alone with the weight of my decision. As I swept the paper scraps into my palm, a flood of memories from my past life surged unbidden, sharp as a blade. They were not just recollections, they were scars, each a lesson carved into my soul. To move forward, I had to face them, to understand why I could never again be the woman who bowed to Ryan Carter's whims. I sat on the edge of my creaking wooden bed, closed my eyes, and let the past wash over me. In that other life, I had been a naive 20-year-old dazzled by Ryan's credentials. A textile factory worker with a college degree, he was the son of dual-income parents destined, they said, to be a factory director. Marrying him is luck you pray for over 8 lifetimes, my matchmaker auntie had crowed. I believed her, pinning my hopes on a future of stability and respect. Our engagement was a whirlwind of community approval, my parents beaming as they gifted an imported sewing machine for my dowry. I wore a bright red polka dot dress to the registry office, my heart fluttering with dreams. But Ryan's sneer shattered them. So tacky, he spat. You look like a country matchmaker. His words stung, but I swallowed the hurt, thinking love would soften him. After our marriage, the truth unraveled. Ryan's heart belonged to Emily, his widowed sister-in-law, whose delicate beauty and crocodile tears masked a ruthless streak. On our wedding night, Emily claimed a nightmare, and Ryan abandoned me to comfort her, cradling her until dawn. His salary meant for our household went to her and her son Tommy, while I patched my cloth shoes until my fingers bled. I served his parents like a servant, scrubbing floors and cooking with scraps while Emily ate pork I'd rationed for months. Ryan soft-hearted, his mother would say, dismissing my hunger as Emily's plate glistened with grease. Pregnancy brought no reprieve. Food stamps and meat rations still went to Emily and Tommy. I grew so thin my ribs showed, and when I gave birth to my daughter, I hemorrhaged, the pain searing as blood soaked the sheets. The hospital's dim lights flickered as I begged for help, but Ryan was absent, likely soothing Emily's latest whim. The ordeal left me with chronic weakness, my body a shadow of its youth. Yet I pressed on, mending clothes, tending to Ryan's parents, and rocking my daughter through sleepless nights, hoping my sacrifices would earn their love. The deepest wound came on my deathbed decades later. My daughter, now a young woman, stood over me, her face twisted with contempt. "You're fat, disgusting," she hissed. "Emily's graceful. She's my real mom. I'd have kicked you out years ago if not for Dad's reputation." Her words were a knife twisting in the heart I'd poured into her. Emily, standing nearby, smiled faintly, her victory complete. Ryan didn't visit. Neighbors later said he was at Emily's planning a trip to cheer her up. I died alone, my life's work, my love, my labor reduced to ash by their betrayal. As the memory faded, I opened my eyes, my cheeks wet with tears I hadn't noticed. The room was still, and the alley outside was quiet except for a distant dog's bark. My daughter's face lingered in my mind, her venom a reminder of my blindness. In that life, I'd been too weak, too eager to please, believing patience would win their hearts. I'd ignored Ryan's lingering glances at Emily, excused his neglect, and let his family drain me dry. The Carter household had been a leech sucking my spirit until nothing remained. My daughter, raised in their shadow, had learned to despise me, mirroring their cruelty. But this time, I was awake. The pain of my past life was my armor, each betrayal a spark fueling my resolve. I would not marry Ryan. I would not cook for his parents or starve for Emily's comfort. My daughter, unborn in this new life, was a ghost I mourned but could not save. Perhaps her absence was a mercy, sparing her the Carter's poison. I wiped my tears, my hands steady now. The textile factory job, the community's expectations, and the pressure to be a dutiful wife were chains I'd break. Shenzhen was called a distant promise of reform and opportunity, and I'd seize it not for Ryan or his family, but for me. I stood brushing the last paper scraps into a tin can. I'd face Ryan at the registry office tomorrow, his smug confidence expecting my submission. But I was no longer the girl who'd worn a polka dot dress to please him. I was Lucy Shue, reborn, with a fire in my chest and a plan in my mind. I'd let Ryan and Emily's twisted love unravel in public, their shame exposed by their own hands. And I'd walk away not as a victim, but as a woman claiming her worth, ready to build a future where no one could diminish me again. The morning sun filtered through the registry office's dusty windows, casting long shadows across the tiled floor. I stood in the cramped waiting room, my cotton dress pressed neatly, my braid tied with a simple blue ribbon. The marriage application was gone, torn to pieces in my room, but Ryan Carter didn't know that. He stood across from me, his gold-rimmed glasses glinting, his posture radiating the confidence of a man who thought he owned my future. "Sign it," he said, flinging a fresh copy of the application onto the wooden counter. His voice was sharp, impatient, as if my hesitation was a personal insult. I met his gaze, my heart steady despite the memories clawing at me. In my past life, this moment had been my undoing. I'd worn a bright red polka dot dress, hoping to please him, my hands trembling as I signed my life away. His sneer, so tacky you look like a country matchmaker, had crushed me, but I'd smiled through the humiliation, believing love would follow. Emily, his sister-in-law, had cried in his arms the night before, begging him to show me no kindness, and he'd obeyed. That Lucy, naive and eager, had entered a trap of servitude, starvation, and betrayal, but now reborn with the scars of that life, I was different. I saw Ryan's disdain for what it was, a mask for his obsession with Emily, a way to keep me small while he indulged her. I picked up the application, my fingers brushing the crisp paper. Memories surged, Ryan abandoning our wedding night to comfort Emily, handing her my rations, while I patched worn shoes, my daughter's venomous words on my deathbed. Each image was a spark fueling a fire I'd never known in my youth. I could sign this paper play the docile fiancé and let history repeat, or I could rewrite my story starting here in this stifling room. I looked at Ryan, his eyes narrowing as he adjusted his glasses, a prop he wore because Emily liked scholarly men. I whispered, "Let's wait a little longer," my voice soft but firm. "It's not the right time yet." Ryan's face twisted in frustration. He paced, rolling up his sleeves, his polished shoes clicking against the tiles. "Wait," he snapped. "I'll wait alone then. If you've got things to do, go." His tone dripped with condescension, as if I were a child wasting his time. I'd have apologized and begged for his patience in my past life, but now I saw his impatience for what it was, weakness. He thought he controlled me, that I'd crumble under his scorn. I smiled faintly, letting him believe I was still the timid girl he knew. "Fine," I said, stepping back. "You wait, I'll go." His eyes widened, a flicker of surprise breaking his composure. "He said you'll be the Carter family's eldest daughter-in-law, recovering quickly from now on. We won't mistreat you, but you'd better respect Emily and her son. Don't upset her again, or you'll regret it." The threat hung in the air, a reminder of the role he expected a servant to his parents, a shadow to Emily's radiance. In my past life, I'd tried to please her, only to be blamed for her tears, labeled jealous and uncultured. I nodded, letting him think I agreed, but inside my resolve hardened. I'd never set foot in his home, never cook for his family, never let Emily's manipulations cage me again. As Ryan turned to leave, muttering about his busy schedule, I lingered by the counter, my fingers tracing the wood's worn edges. Alone, I felt a tremor of doubt. Was I strong enough to defy him, to walk away from the life everyone expected? My mother's hopeful face flashed in my mind, her pride in my good match. The textile factory's steady paycheck and the community's approval were anchors tempting me to stay safe. But safety had killed me once, draining my spirit until I was nothing. I closed my eyes, picturing Shenzhen, a distant city buzzing with reform's promise. My past life's newsreels had shown its rise, a fishing village poised to become a beacon of opportunity. I could be part of that, not Ryan's pawn. I stepped outside the alley, air cool against my skin. Neighbors bustled past, their chatter a hum of routine. Ryan was gone, likely boasting to colleagues about his obedient fiancée. But I was no longer his. I'd let him and Emily entangle themselves, their flirtations already whispered about in the factory. I'd step aside, giving them space to expose their shame. That night I knelt by my bed in my room, the moonlight pooling on the floor. I won't falter, I prayed, my voice a whisper, not for Ryan or anyone. The girl who'd worn a polka dot dress was gone. In her place was Lucy Shue, reborn, ready to outmaneuver Ryan and claim a future where no one could diminish her again. The alley leading to the Carter household buzzed with evening chatter, the scent of coal fires mingling with the clatter of bicycles. I walked purposefully, my steps firm against the packed dirt, carrying a basket of pork and rice provisions my parents had scrimped to provide for my supposed wedding. The weight of the basket was nothing compared to the resolve in my chest. I dodged Ryan's demands at the registry office yesterday, letting him believe I'd bend. Today, I'd face his family not as the timid fiancé they expected, but as Lucy Shue, reborn, ready to shatter their illusions of control. In my past life, I'd entered this house countless times, my head bowed, hands raw from scrubbing their floors. I'd cooked with scraps while Emily, Ryan's sister-in-law, ate my pork, her son Tommy smearing grease on his cheeks. The Carters had treated me like a servant, their smiles masking greed as they pocketed my dowry's sewing machine. Ryan's love for Emily, blatant yet excused, had been my cage. Now, with memories of that betrayal, my starvation, my daughter's venom, my deathbed loneliness, I vowed to reclaim what was mine, starting with this food and my dignity. I reached the Carters' courtyard gate, its peeling paint starkly contrasting with their status boasts. Laughter spilled out, flirtatious and unrestrained. I paused, peering through the gap. Emily leaned against Ryan, her curvy frame draped across his arm, her laughter bright as she tossed her hair. Tommy clung to Ryan's leg, demanding a story, while Ryan's parents beamed their faces soft with approval. A bowl of rice glistening with lard from my pork sat before Tommy, his lips shiny as he shoveled it in. The scene was a tableau of entitlement, their warmth built on my family's sacrifice. My stomach twisted not with fear, but with a cold, apparent anger. I pushed the gate open, the creak silencing their laughter. Ryan's eyes met mine, his smile fading to a scowl. Emily pulled back her delicate features, shifting to a practiced look of pity. Lucy said, her voice syrupy, "I know this meat was for your wedding. A person like me bringing bad luck doesn't deserve it." But Ryan couldn't let Tommy go hungry. She emphasized bad luck, her eyes glinting with malice. In my past life, I'd have apologized, cooked for them, desperate to please. But now I saw her words for what they were, a trap to keep me small. Ryan stood towering over me. "It's our stuff now," he barked. "There's more meat in the kitchen. Cook, Emily and Tommy are hungry. Can't you read the room?" His tone was commanding, as if I were already their servant. His parents nodded, expecting compliance. I glanced at the kitchen where my pork lay, a slab of my parents' love, meant for a celebration that would never happen. Memories flashed me starving while Emily ate my daughter, calling her mom. I straightened my voice, calm but cutting. "If you want to eat, cook it yourself." The courtyard froze. Ryan's jaw dropped, his glasses slipping slightly. "What?" he sputtered. His mother gasped, "Aren't you Ryan's fiancé? You must serve us duty." The word echoed from my past life, a chain that had bound me to their whims. I laughed, sharp and scornful. "Duty? I was born to my parents, not yours. Whoever their parents are, let them care for them. My life has value. I'm not your servant." The words felt like a release, each one stripping away the weight of my former self. Ryan's face reddened, his pride stung. "If you don't cook, don't expect me to be nice at tomorrow's wedding," he snapped. I met his gaze unflinching. "There won't be a wedding." Before he could respond, I strode to the kitchen, my heart pounding with defiance. I grabbed the slab of ribs, the pounds of pork, and the bag of rice, their heft a reminder of my parents' sacrifice. Ryan started to speak, but his words died as I walked out, never pausing, the courtyard's silence ringing in my ears. Behind me, Emily's wail rose, followed by the crash of dishes, a tantrum I'd no longer soothe. I walked home, the alley's lights flickering on neighbors' voices, a soft hum. My defiance had been a spark, but doubt crept in. Had I been too harsh? The Carters' influence in the factory could spread lies and tarnish my name. I pushed the thought aside. My past life had taught me that appeasing them led only to pain. I reached our small home, the scent of my mother's steamed buns welcoming me. She was at the stove, her apron flour-dusted, her face lined with worry. "Lucy, you're back," she said, then saw the basket. "What happened?" I set the food down, my throat tight. "I didn't sign the certificate, Mama." "I'm not marrying Ryan. They were eating our pork, acting like it was theirs." Her eyes widened, then softened with relief. She pulled me into a hug, her arms trembling. "Oh, my girl," she whispered. "I was so afraid you'd get trapped. Your father and I only wanted you to be happy." Her words broke something in me, a dam of fear I hadn't named. I clung to her, tears welling. "I'm choosing me this time," I said. She nodded, her pride a quiet strength. "You're braver than I ever was." As I lay in bed that night, the moonlight cast shadows on the wall. The Carters' chaos was their own, but my path was clear. I'd return their shame, let Ryan and Emily's love unravel in public. Shenzhen beckoned, a city of reform where I'd build my worth. My mother's hug lingered, a reminder I wasn't alone. I was Lucy Shu, reborn, and no one would steal my future again. The textile factory's hum filled the heirlooms, clattering as I stood before the director's desk, my hands clasped to hide their tremble. The office smelled of ink and old wood, its walls lined with faded posters of model workers. I'd worked here for 2 years, and my steady job was a source of pride for my parents and a symbol of security in our small town. But after yesterday's defiance at the Carter household, where I'd reclaimed my family's pork and rice, I knew I couldn't stay. Ryan Carter and his family expected me to bend to marry into their greed. My past life, starving for Emily's comfort, betrayed by my daughter, screamed that safety was a trap. Shenzhen, a distant city pulsing with reform, was my escape. "Lucy, what did you say?" The director. Mr. Zhang leaned forward, his bushy brows raised. You want to sign the agreement to go to Shenzhen? I nodded, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. Yes, sir. I'm resigning to join the Economic Development Program. His eyes widened, disbelief etched on his weathered face. Have you lost your mind? You're a permanent employee, a position people fight for. Shenzhen's a fishing village, all construction and chaos. Even men hesitate to go, and you, a young woman, have you thought this through? I'd have shrank under his skepticism and apologized for daring to dream in my past life. But now, reborn with memories of a wasted life, I saw opportunity where he saw risk. Newsreels from that life had shown Shenzhen's rise, a special economic zone drawing foreign investors, a place where ambition could thrive. I straightened, meeting his gaze. The country is promoting reform and opening up. Leaders are calling for talent to develop the South. This is my chance to contribute and build something real. My words echoed the party's slogans but weren't hollow, I meant them. Shenzhen was my path to freedom. Mr. Zhang frowned, tapping his pen. What about Ryan? You're getting married, aren't you? Did you discuss this with him? The mention of Ryan stirred a flicker of anger. His smug face at the registry office, his demand that I serve Emily, flashed in my mind. This is my decision, I said firmly. It has nothing to do with him. The country needs people now. I won't throw that away for a man. The director sighed, his expression softening. Lucy, I admire your spirit, but Shenzhen's no paradise. It's grueling work, and the Carters won't take kindly to this. His warning stirred doubt. The Carters' influence in the factory could turn colleagues against me. Neighbors might gossip, pitying me for losing Ryan. My parents, though supportive, feared the unknown. I pushed the thoughts aside. My past life had taught me that pleasing others led to ruin. I signed the resignation form, my hand steady, and received a small sum of money. As I left the office, the factory's whistle blew, signaling the end of a shift, and for me, the end of an era. That night I sat in my room, the moonlight casting a soft glow on my mother's imported sewing machine, a dowry gift now symbolizing her faith in me. I unpacked the basket of pork and rice, and its weight is a reminder of yesterday's victory. But alone, doubt crept in. Shenzhen was a gamble dusty, untested, far from home. Could I, a woman without business experience, survive its cutthroat markets? In my past life, I'd never dared to dream beyond the factory's walls. The memory of my daughter's contempt, fat, disgusting, stung, a reminder of what submission had cost me. I couldn't repeat that mistake. A soft knock broke my thoughts. My father stood in the doorway, his face lined from years at the steel mill. He rarely spoke, his quiet strength contrasting with my mother's warmth. Lucy, he said, his voice low. I heard about the factory. Shenzhen's a big step. I braced for caution, but he smiled faintly. When I was your age, I wanted to join the railway crews and see the world. I stayed for safety. You're braver than I was. His words, heavy but straightforward, dissolved my fear. I hugged him, his rough hands patting my back. Make us proud, he whispered. My mother joined us, her eyes bright with unshed tears. We'll manage without your wages, she said. You build your life. Their faith anchored me, a lifeline against the uncertainty ahead. I thought of Ryan likely plotting to drag me back, and Emily, her manipulative tears ready to sway him. I'd let their twisted love unravel their shame, exposed by their actions. Shenzhen was my future, a city where I'd forge my worth, not as Ryan's wife, but as Lucy Shu reborn. The sewing machine's silhouette stood like a sentinel as I lay in bed. I closed my eyes, picturing Shenzhen's dusty streets and its promise of reform. My past life's pain had led me here, a second chance to live for myself. Tomorrow I'd prepare for the journey, leaving Ryan and his family to their fate. I was ready to enter the unknown, my heart alight with a courage I'd never known. The alley outside my home buzzed with whispers, the evening air thick with the scent of stir-fried vegetables and coal smoke. A week had passed since I'd stormed out of the Carter household, reclaiming my family's pork and rice, and resigned from the textile factory to join Shenzhen's economic development program. My defiance had lit a spark, and now the town was ablaze with gossip. Neighbors lingered near our gate, their voices low but sharp, dissecting the Carters' shame. I sat on our porch, mending a shirt under the dim glow of a lantern, my ears catching fragments of their words. Emily's a curse, Ryan's no good. Each whisper was a brick in the wall I was building between me and my past life's pain. In that other life, I'd been the Carter's servant, starving while Emily ate my rations, ignored by Ryan as he fawned over her. My daughter's betrayal, calling Emily mom on my deathbed, had sealed my ruin. Now reborn, I'd refused Ryan's marriage and his family's greed, choosing Shenzhen over servitude. But the Carters hadn't faded quietly. My stand had exposed its cracks, and the town was eager to pry them open. I kept silent, letting the rumors grow, but unease flickered. Was I fueling a fire that might burn innocents like Tommy Emily's son, who'd done nothing but eat the rice I'd brought? The gossip had started the day after my confrontation. Desperate to prove her worth, Emily had tried cooking for the Carters. Her salty, bitter rice and unwashed greens, stir-fried with raw lard, sent the family to the clinic, their faces green with sickness. The wedding planned for the next day was cancelled, costing them 200 yuan a year's expenses. Neighbors whispered that Emily was the Carters' Death Star, a widow who'd cursed her first husband and now poisoned Ryan's future. The factory docked Ryan's salary for indecent conduct, his flirtations with Emily too blatant to ignore. Once proud dual-income workers, his parents sulked, their dreams of a dutiful daughter-in-law shattered. I walked to the market daily, my head high, ignoring the stares. The Carters had tried to corner me, Ryan's mother lurking near our gate, her voice syrupy. "Lucy, come home with Ryan." I dodged her, slipping into crowds, letting their desperation fester. Their home descended into chaos. Spoiled by Ryan's pampering, Emily set the kitchen ablaze, trying to boil water, and the smoke was drawing jeers from passers-by. She wailed, her hands blistered, and Ryan ordered her to stop working, leaving his aging parents to scrub and cook. The alley's women, once neutral, now scorned them. They thought they'd tame Lucy, one said. "She's too bright for that lot." My mother, once timid, joined the chorus. At the market, she stood with the aunties, her voice firm. "Lucy's better off without them. Ryan's got eyes for Emily, not my girl." Her pride warmed me, but I saw the worry in her eyes. She feared the Carters' spite might hurt my reputation. I squeezed her hand, whispering, "Let them talk. I'm leaving for Shenzhen soon." She nodded, her strength a mirror of my own. My father, quiet as ever, polished his tools nearby, his rare smile a silent vote of confidence. Their support emboldened me, but I couldn't shake a nagging guilt. Tommy's innocent face, smeared with grease, haunted me. Was my plan to expose Ryan and Emily's love hurting him too? One evening, as I packed for Shenzhen, the rumors peaked. A neighbor, Auntie Lee, knocked, her eyes gleaming. "You won't believe it, Lucy. Emily tried washing clothes and got frostbite. She's crying to Ryan, and he's yelling at his parents to do the work." I forced a smile, but my heart wavered. In my past life, I'd cooked for them for months, absorbing their complaints to keep peace. Now their chaos was justice, but it felt hollow. I thought of Shenzhen's dusty promise of reform and wondered if my vengeance was tainting my new path. I knelt by my bed, the moonlight pooling on the floor. "Keep me accurate," I prayed. "Let my fight be for me, not against them." The next day, I saw Ryan at the factory gate, his face haggard, his glasses askew. He didn't approach, but his eyes followed me, a mix of anger and desperation. I turned away, my silence a weapon. The Carters' collapse was their own making. Emily's incompetence, Ryan's blindness, their greed for my labor. I'd let the town's judgment bury them, fueling the whispers without a word. My mother joined me on the walk home, her arm in mine. "You're our pride," she said. "Show them what a woman can do." Her words drowned my guilt, reigniting my fire. Shenzhen awaited, and I was Lucy Shu reborn, ready to build a future where no one could chain me again. The evening air was thick with the scent of jasmine and coal dust, the alley outside my home alive with the clatter of bicycles and neighbors' chatter. 2 weeks had passed since I resigned from the textile factory, and my decision to join Shenzhen's economic development program sent ripples through the town. The Carters' chaos, Emily's failed cooking, the kitchen fire, their docked wages had fueled gossip, painting them as a family undone by greed and scandal. I'd stayed silent, letting their shame grow, but tonight Ryan and his family came to our doorstep, determined to drag me back into their fold. I stood ready, not as the timid girl they knew, but as Lucy Shu, reborn, armed with the pain of my past life. In that other life, I'd bowed to the Carters, cooking their meals, starving, while Emily ate my pork and enduring Ryan's neglect for his sister-in-law. My daughter's betrayal, calling Emily mom on my deathbed, had been the final blow. Now I'd torn up Ryan's marriage application, reclaimed my family's provisions, and chosen Shenzhen over servitude. But the Carters hadn't given up. As I stepped outside, Ryan stood flanked by his parents, Emily behind him, clutching a roll of peach-pink fabric. Her eyes gleamed with malice, the color a jab at my tacky polka-dot dress from my past life. Lucy, Ryan's mother, cooed, "Haven't you made enough fuss? Come home with Ryan." Ryan shoved the fabric at me, his voice gruff. "Emily picked this for you. Girls like this color," she said. I raised an eyebrow. The insult, clear peach pink, was for brothel girls, not respectable women. I'd have swallowed the slight desperate to please in my past life. Now I saw their ploy bind me with guilt, make me their servant again. I took a breath, my heart steady. Ryan Carter, I roared, are you out of your mind? When did I ever sign a marriage certificate? Don't drag my name into your mess. I plan to marry someone decent. The courtyard fell silent, neighbors pausing mid-step, their eyes wide. Ryan's face flushed, then paled. What? He stammered. We went to the registry office together. I signed it. Panic flickered in his eyes, a crack in his smug facade. Lucy, I know I've been cold, but you still have feelings for me. Our families are matched, our signs align. Don't throw a tantrum. His voice softened, a calculated plea, but I laughed sharp and cold. Feelings, you're in love with your sister-in-law. Own it, Ryan. Don't pin it on me. The crowd gasped, whispers erupting. A market vendor, Auntie Lee pushed forward, her finger jabbing at Ryan. You think we're blind? You stare at Emily like she's the moon. Lusting after your brother's widow, disgraceful. Another auntie chimed in. Lucy is a respectable, educated, and ambitious girl. You don't deserve her. The women's voices rose fierce and unyielding, their anger fueled by years of watching men like Ryan treat women as property. I felt a surge of gratitude. Their support was a shield against the Carters' desperation. Ryan's parents shrank back, Emily's face crumpling into practiced tears. Lucy, I've wronged you, she sobbed, rubbing her frostbitten hands. I tried chores, but I'm useless. Don't ruin your reputation over this. Her act was flawless, but I saw through it her tears had manipulated Ryan in my past life, costing me everything. I opened our gate wider, letting neighbors see her performance. Reputation, I said. You and Ryan can keep each other. I'm done. The crowd roared, women, young and old, stepping forward. Lucy's going to Shenzhen, one shouted. She's serving the country, not your sorry family, mister. Chen, the deputy director of the compressor plant, raised his hand, silencing the din. Lucy's our pride, he said. Let's help her. Neighbors pulled out crumpled yuan 1510, pressing them into my hands. My throat tightened, tears stinging. In my past life, I'd been alone, shunned for my failure. Now the alley stood with me, their coins a vote for my future. Among them was Wei, a quiet scholar from the factory's accounting office. His gentle eyes met mine as he handed me 20 yuan, his voice soft. Build something great, Lucy. His warmth stirred something new, a spark of hope beyond vengeance. I nodded, clutching the money. My mother joined me, her arm around my shoulders. You've shown them, she said, her voice proud. You're more than any man's wife. Her strength, once hidden, now shone, mirroring my own. As the Carters slunk away, Ryan's gaze lingered, a mix of anger and fear. I felt a pang had I pushed too far, shaming them before the town. But the memory of my past life, Emily eating my rations and Ryan's neglect, steeled me. Their downfall was their own making. I was Lucy Shu reborn, and with the alley's support, I'd forge a path to Shenzhen where my worth would shine untainted by their greed. The textile factory's open lot glowed under strings of lanterns, the night alive with laughter and clinking glasses. My farewell banquet, hosted for those heading to Shenzhen, buzzed with the town's pride. 20 tables sprawled across the gravel, laden with steamed buns, braised pork, and rice wine gifts from neighbors who saw us as reform pioneers. I stood on a makeshift stage, a red flower pinned to my chest, shaking hands with factory leaders. The air smelled of soy sauce and hope, but my heart beat with a different purpose. Tonight, I'd ensure Ryan Carter and Emily's twisted love was exposed, their shame laid bare before the alley. In my past life, I'd slaved for the Carters, starving while Emily ate my rations, ignored by Ryan as he indulged her tears. My daughter's betrayal, calling Emily mom on my deathbed, had crushed me. Now reborn, I'd torn up Ryan's marriage application, reclaimed my family's provisions, and chosen Shenzhen's promise over servitude. My public stand days ago, accusing Ryan of loving Emily, had fueled gossip, but whispers weren't enough. I needed undeniable proof to free myself forever. I'd noticed Emily's unsteady gait at the factory earlier, her cheeks flushed, her eyes glassy, likely from cheap wine she'd taken to sipping. Ryan, ever her shadow, hovered nearby. Tonight, with the town gathered, was my chance. I adjusted the microphone, scanning the crowd. Neighbors danced to a soft melody from the factory's radio, their faces lit with pride for me and the two boys bound for Shenzhen. My mother stood near Mr. Chen, her smile radiant, her once timid spirit now bold. The quiet scholar from the accounting office, caught my eye, his gentle nod steadying me. I dimmed the lanterns halfway, and the lot bathed in a dreamy glow. The music swelled a romantic tune, inviting couples to sway. I spotted Emily in the shadows swaying too, her arm looped through Ryan's. He looked nervous, his glasses glinting as he glanced at the crowd, but he didn't pull away. I cleared my throat, my voice cheerful over the microphone. Dear neighbors, respected leaders. Let's make tonight unforgettable. Join me for a dance party to celebrate our new chapter. The crowd cheered, the music rising as I turned it louder. I stepped off the stage, weaving through dancers, my eyes on Ryan and Emily. She was slumped against him now, her laughter slurred, her hands tugging at his shirt. I'd heard whispers of her drinking, a habit born of the Carters' chaos, her kitchen fire, her frostbitten hands. Ryan tried to steady her, his face torn between desire and fear of exposure. Sensing the moment, I rallied the crowd. Let's head to my house for brown sugar tea, I called, knowing the path would pass the Carters' courtyard. The town followed their chatter, lively, the night crisp with a chilly breeze. As we neared the Carters' gate, a light burned bright, unlike the darkened homes around it. Moans loud and obscene echoed from their courtyard, silencing our group. A young man blurted, "Whose woman is that so shameless, Auntie Lee?" Her voice sharp answered, "Who else? That widow Emily disgraced the alley." The crowd surged forward, pushing open the gate. I hung back, my heart racing as aunties screamed. Peering through the throng, I saw it, Ryan and Emily tangled in the chicken coop, their clothes discarded feathers clinging to their skin. Emily, her eyes hazy, moaned, "Marry me, Ryan. Why can't I be your wife? I love you." Her words were slurred, her body slack. Perhaps more than wine was at play, a suspicion I pushed aside. Ryan, sobering fast, scrambled to cover himself, hissing, "You crazy woman, you've ruined me!" The crowd's gasps turned to disgust, neighbors turning away, some spitting on the ground. Auntie Lee grabbed a broom, shouting, "Shameless, you think you can live here after this?" Factory officials stepped in, pulling Emily up as she slumped, barely conscious. Ryan's face was ashen, his eyes darting to me. I met his gaze, my expression calm, but a pang hit me inside. Had I orchestrated too much, pushing Emily to this reckless state? In my past life, I'd suffered for their love, but this public shaming felt raw, almost cruel. Yet the memory of my starvation, my daughter's venom, steadied me. They'd chosen this path, not me. The crowd dispersed, muttering as Ryan's mother dragged Emily inside, her screams echoing. My mother pulled me close, her voice soft. "You're free now, Lucy." Wei lingered nearby, his quiet presence a comfort. I nodded, the guilt fading. I'd given Ryan and Emily the stage to expose themselves. Shenzhen awaited a city where I'd build my worth, not their ruin. I was Lucy Shu reborn, and tonight I'd severed their hold on me forever. The morning sun pierced the alley's haze, casting long shadows across the dirt path to my home. My suitcase sat packed by the door, filled with modest clothes, and the sewing machine my mother had given as a dowry, now a symbol of my new beginning. The train to Shenzhen left at noon, and I was ready to leave Ryan Carter, his family, and their toxic love behind. Last night's farewell banquet had been my triumph, Ryan and Emily caught naked in the Carters' chicken coop, their moans echoing for all to hear. The town's disgust had sealed their shame, freeing me from their grasp. But as I checked my train ticket, a sharp knock rattled the gate, followed by a voice raw and venomous. "Lucy Shu." I stepped outside, my heart steady but wary. Emily stood there, a shadow of her elegant self. Her once lustrous hair was tangled, matted with blood, her cheeks scratched and scabbed. Dark circles framed her bloodshot eyes, her thin coat torn at the hem. The crowd from last night had been merciless, their brooms and shouts driving her to this state. "You smiled while they beat me," she spat, her voice trembling with rage. "You planned it, didn't you? You're evil." In my past life, her tears had swayed Ryan, painting me as the villain while she ate my rations and stole my daughter's love. Now reborn, I saw her for what she was, a manipulator, desperate to cling to power. I crossed my arms, my voice calm. "You think I shoved you into that coop with Ryan? You rolled there yourself, Emily. You've played the delicate angel for years, but your heart's rotten." Her eyes locked onto mine, a wild laugh bursting from her lips. "You think you've won? Ryan loves only me. The unloved one is the fool, Lucy. You'll see." Her words sent a chill down my spine, a flicker of unease from my past life's pain. Before I could respond, she pulled a knife from her coat's lining, its blade glinting in the sunlight. The crowd nearby gasped, freezing, as she drove it into her neck. Blood spilled stark against her pale skin, but I saw the angle, shallow, calculated, missing vital arteries. It was a performance like her tears in my past life, meant to bind Ryan to her guilt. He rushed from the alley, his face ashen, dropping to her side. Emily, he cried, cradling her. She coughed blood, flecking her lips, her voice weak but deliberate. Ryan, if we can't be together, I'd rather die. Let my death bless you and Lucy. Her eyes flicked to me, a final taunt. Ryan sobbed, clutching her. No, I won't let you die. I'll marry you, Emily, even if I lose everything. The crowd murmured, some pitying, others disgusted. I stood unmoved, my suitcase at my feet. In my past life, I'd have wept, begged Ryan to see my worth. Now I felt nothing but clarity. You're each other's curse, I said, my voice cold. Enjoy your love. Ryan's eyes met mine, a flicker of something regret perhaps, but it meant nothing. Emily's act was her last weapon, which had no power over me. I turned to the crowd, raising my voice. I never signed any certificate. Ask the registry office. I'm free, and I'm leaving for Shenzhen. Auntie Lee stepped forward, her face fierce. Good for you, Lucy. Let these fools rot. Others nodded their support, a wall against the Carters' drama. My mother appeared, her eyes wet but proud, gripping my hand. Go, my girl, she whispered. You're more than this. I hugged her, the warmth of her love drowning Emily's spectacle. As I lifted my suitcase, a memory of my past life daughter surfaced, her cruel words, Emily's my real mom. In this life, she was unborn, a ghost I mourned, but was grateful to spare from the Carters' poison. Her absence was a mercy, a clean slate for my heart. I walked to the train station, the crowd parting their murmurs of Hero and Shenzhen trailing me. The platform buzzed with travelers, the train's whistle, a call to the future. I boarded, finding a seat by a window, the glass cool against my cheek. Outside, Ryan and Emily were whisked away by an ambulance, their drama fading into the town's dust. I thought of my past life where Ryan had treated me as an obstacle to his love for Emily. Now their path was clear, but without my labor, their factory wages, or the town's respect, how long would their passion last? The train lurched forward, Shenzhen's promise ahead. I closed my eyes, letting go of the alley. The Carters and the girl I'd been. My future was mine, my career, my worth, my life. I was Lucy Shu, reborn, and nothing would hold me back now. The Shenzhen train station reeked of dust and diesel, its platform a chaotic swirl of workers, merchants, and dreamers. I stepped off the train in 1978, my suitcase heavy with my mother's sewing machine and a few worn dresses, my heart pounding with equal parts fear and fire. Shenzhen was no city yet, just a sprawl of fishing villages and construction sites, its dirt roads churned by bulldozers. China's reform and opening up policy had declared it a special economic zone, a magnet for foreign investors. But to my eyes, it was a gamble. In my past life, I'd slaved for the Carters, starving, while Emily ate my rations, betrayed by my daughter's venom. Now reborn, I'd left Ryan and his toxic love behind, choosing this untested frontier to forge my worth. My first months were brutal. I rented a cramped room above a noodle stall, its walls stained with grease, the air thick with fishy steam. I joined a state-owned construction firm tasked with drafting plans for new factories. The work was grueling, long hours under a scorching sun, my hands blistered from hauling blueprints. My first deal, a contract to supply materials, collapsed when a supplier vanished with my advance costing me half my savings. At night, I lay awake, doubts clawing at me. Had I been a fool to leave the factory's stability, my parents' pride? The memory of Ryan's scorn, tacky, embarrassing, and my daughter's cruel words, fat, disgusting, pushed me forward. I couldn't return to that life. My past life's newsreels had shown Shenzhen's rise, skyscrapers, bustling ports, global trade. I clung to that vision, teaching myself English from borrowed books, my tongue stumbling over foreign words. I networked with traders at dusty tea houses, and their talk about Hong Kong investments sparked ideas. In 1979, I learned of land auctions in areas slated for development, Luohu Futian places that marked my past life's memory as future gold mines. With my remaining savings and a loan from a sympathetic foreman, I bought 10 plots at rock-bottom prices, my hands shaking as I signed. If I were wrong, I'd lose everything. Wei arrived in Shenzhen a year later, his quiet strength a balm to my restless drive. We'd met at the textile factory, and his gentle nod at my farewell banquet sparked a connection. Now as my colleague in the construction firm, he pored over budgets with me, his sharp mind catching errors I missed. Over late-night tea, he shared his dream of a fairer world, his words measured but passionate. "You're fearless, Lucy," he said one night, his eyes warm. "But you don't have to carry it all." His calm balanced my fire, and in 1980, We married in a simple ceremony, my mother sending a letter of joy from home. By 1985, Shenzhen was transforming foreign factories, rising ports, humming with exports. My plots, once barren, were now in demand. I sold two, using the profits to start a real estate firm, Shu Enterprises. I hired local women, teaching them bookkeeping, and their gratitude fueled me. But success wasn't smooth. I lost contracts to bribes, faced scorn as a woman in a man's world. Wei stood by me, his strategies turning losses into lessons. We opened an architectural design firm, blending my vision with his precision. By 1998, I was among China's wealthiest women, and my 10 buildings now in Shenzhen's priciest districts made me a top entrepreneur. Yet a hollowness lingered as I stood on my office balcony overlooking Shenzhen's skyline. My wealth felt empty without purpose. I thought of my parents, their sacrifices for my dowry, and the alley's women who'd given me yuan to start this journey. In my past life, I'd died alone, my daughter stolen by Emily's charm. Now childless by choice, I mourned her absence, but felt relief she was spared the Carter's poison. I turned to weigh his hand in mine. "Let's give back," I said. He nodded, his smile soft. "You've always wanted to lift others. I sent money home to fund schools and clinics." My mother wrote back, her words proud. "You've shown me a woman's worth, Lucy." Her once timid letters now brimmed with confidence, mirroring my growth. But I wanted more, to bring opportunity to the women who'd believed in me. Shenzhen was my triumph, built on reform's spring breeze, but my heart yearned to share it. I was Lucy Shu reborn, and my success would mean nothing unless it lit the way for others. Shenzhen's skyline glittered under the 1998 Lunar New Year moon, its towers a testament to the reform era's promise. My office at Shu Enterprises overlooked the city, its glass walls reflecting my journey from a dusty construction site to China's top female entrepreneur. My 10 buildings, bought with past life foresight, stood in Luohu and Futian, now the city's heart. Yet preparing for a community celebration, my heart turned to my hometown. In this alley, neighbors had pressed yuan into my hands 20 years ago, fueling my escape from Ryan Carter's toxic love. In my past life, I'd died serving the Carters, my daughter stolen by Emily's charm. Now reborn, I'd vowed to give back, to lift the women who'd lifted me. I'd sent money home over the years, clinics, schools, rice for struggling families. My mother's letters brimmed with pride. "You've shown me a woman's worth, Lucy." Once timid, she now managed a local cooperative, her voice bold. My father, ever quiet, sent pressed flowers, saying he believed in me. My husband Wei sat beside me, his gentle eyes scanning budgets for my latest plan, a supermarket for the alley's women stocked with domestic and imported goods. He said, "You're building more than businesses." His hand is warm in mine. "You're building futures." His support, steady as ever, grounded my ambition. The celebration was held in our Shenzhen residential complex, a sprawling oasis I'd designed. I'd gifted homes to every neighbor who'd supported me, their names on deeds, a thank you for their faith. The courtyard buzzed with laughter, tables laden with dumplings, roasted duck, and mangoes flown from Thailand. My mother, now gray-haired but radiant, led the alley's women, their faces glowing under lantern light. "Lucy," she said, hugging me, "you showed me I'm more than a wife. I manage accounts now like you." Her words warmed me, erasing the sting of my past life, where I'd starved while Emily ate my pork. The women, once bound by chores, now worked at my supermarket. Their aprons crisped their shares in the business, giving them financial power. Auntie Lee, who'd jabbed a broom at Emily years ago, grinned, her hands no longer calloused from washing. "We're not just serving husbands anymore," she said. "We're earning, deciding, and living." Inspired by my story, young girls spoke of studying architecture, physics, and programming, dreams sparked by the reform era's winds. I handed out 50,000 UN red envelopes, the crowd's cheers echoing. President Xu, Mr. Chen called, "You lifted our alley out of poverty. You're our hero." The joy was electric as we danced to a pop tune, a far cry from the alley's dusty past. Yet whispers of the Carters' fate gave me a grim contrast. Ryan and Emily had married soon after I left, their passion burning bright until reality struck. Ryan lost his factory job, demoted to shining shoes on the street, his wages barely feeding his parents and Tommy. The factory's decline as private enterprises rose left them penniless. Emily, once elegant, became their servant, her face yellowed from greasy stoves, her hands raw from laundry. She argued over vegetable prices, her beauty faded, and her dreams of moonlight toasts with Ryan were buried under chores. The Carters' resentment turned on Emily. Ryan's parents, once proud, blamed her for their lost pension, calling her a curse who'd stolen their lucky star me. Ryan, his love soured, screamed at her nightly, their home a battleground. Tommy, echoing my past life daughter's cruelty, called Emily a useless fat cow, refusing college, his scorn breaking her spirit. She turned to drinking, then other men, abandoning the family she'd fought for. A fire sparked by neglect razed their home, killing Ryan's parents. Ryan and Emily survived, but their love was ashes, a karmic end to their greed. I stood with Wei, watching the crowd sing their voices bright. A pang hit me, not for Ryan or Emily, but for the girl I'd been who'd believed in their promises. My choice to remain childless, sparing a daughter their poison, felt right, but it left a quiet ache. I leaned into Wei, his arms steady. "You've done enough," he said softly. "Let the past go." He was right. The Carters' ruin was their own, but my triumph belonged to this community, to the women who'd found their worth through my example. I was Lucy Shu reborn, and my legacy would light their way. The Shenzhen night was warm, the 1998 Lunar New Year celebration fading as lanterns dimmed in our residential complex. The courtyard, once alive with the alley's women dancing and singing, now lay quiet, the air scented with jasmine and leftover dumplings. I walked hand in hand with Wei, my husband, across the plaza, his steady presence contrasting with my restless heart. My journey from a dusty Shenzhen construction site to a top entrepreneur owning 10 buildings bought with past life foresight felt complete. I'd gifted homes and a supermarket to my hometown, empowering its women. Yet as we strolled, a ragged figure stumbled into view, his silhouette halting my breath. In my past life, I'd died serving the Carters, starving, while Emily ate my rations, betrayed by my daughter's venom. Now reborn, I'd exposed Ryan and Emily's toxic love, leaving them to their ruin while I built an empire. The man before us was the ghost of that past. Ryan Carter, his skin weathered, his hands calloused, his toes twisted from years of hardship. His limp marked him as a beggar, his eyes hollow as they met mine. No words passed, but recognition flickered, a shadow of the man who'd once scorned me as tacky. My bodyguards tensed, forming a protective ring, but I raised a hand. "Stand down," I said. "Ryan." He opened his mouth, then closed it, his gaze dropping to the pavement. In that moment I felt nothing, neither hate nor pity, just a vast emptiness where his power over me once lived. Wei stepped forward, his voice gentle. "Get in the car, Lucy. Let's go." But I lingered, studying Ryan's broken form. News from home had painted his fate. After marrying Emily, he'd lost his factory job, shining shoes to survive. Their house burned, killing his parents, and Emily, worn by toil, had left him for others. Tommy, their son, echoed my past life daughter's cruelty, shattering Emily's spirit. Ryan alone had wandered, ending here. Wei's hand touched mine, his eyes questioning. "That poor man," he murmured. "He must be desperate, begging in an affluent district. I'll send the driver the money later. A little kindness builds karma." His compassion, so unlike Ryan's coldness, warmed me. I nodded, climbing into our car, the leather seat cool against my skin. In the rearview mirror, Ryan's bony figure collapsed, clutching his head, sobbing. I leaned into Wei, my heart unmoved. I'd have ached for Ryan's approval in my past life, but now he was a stranger, his pain irrelevant. The girl who'd worn a polka dot dress to please him was gone. The next morning, our driver returned, his face grim. I went back last night, but the man was gone. This morning, police blocked the road. He jumped into the river, ended it. Wei sighed, his brow furrowed. We should have helped him then. Maybe he wouldn't have lost hope. I shook my head, my voice quiet. It wasn't about money. Some faced their reckoning. That was his. I pulled open the curtains, sunlight flooding our home, warming my skin. Ryan's end stirred no satisfaction, no pain, just a final severing of my past. My choice to remain childless, sparing a daughter the Carters' poison, felt right, a quiet closure to that wound. I turned to Wei, his thoughtful eyes meeting mine. "Let's focus on the future," I said. "Scholarships for girls and schools for the next generation." He smiled, nodding. "They'll do better than us, Lucy. You've shown them how." I thought of the Alley's girls now studying architecture, coding, and dreaming beyond marriage. My supermarket had given their mothers financial power, their voices echoing my mother's newfound strength. She'd written last week, managing her cooperative, proud to be more than a wife. My father's pressed flowers tucked in her letters were his silent blessing. As sunlight streamed in, I saw China's brighter, bolder future, built by those we'd empowered. My past life's pain, Ryan's ruin, Emily's fall. They were shadows fading in the light of what I'd created. I was Lucy Shue, reborn my legacy not in vengeance, but in the lives I'd lifted. The next generation would soar, and I believed in their brilliance. With Way by my side, I stepped into that future, my heart boundless, my spirit free.